Hello everyone, my name's Joseph Shannon. I am the only one in group 3, so I will be the only one speaking. I'm going to do a short presentation on the accreditation of healthcare organizations. Um, this slide is pretty much just the layout of the PowerPoint. If you want to just come back to this one to kind of know where you need to go if you want to review a concept or something. So the first thing we're going to talk about is what is accreditation. Second thing we're going to talk about is it mandatory or is it voluntary? And then we're going to compare the impact and the process of accreditation to that of board certification for physicians. Just kind of see if how these two things relate. Next, we're going to talk about is what is the role of the ISO, which is the International Organization of Standards in the accreditation process. And then we're going to we're not going to do an interview, but we're going to see why an organization would choose ISO accreditation over, let's say, Joint Commission or anything else. Okay. So what is accreditation? Accreditation is a process of review that healthcare organizations participate in to demonstrate the ability to meet predetermined criteria and standards of accreditation established by a professional accrediting agency. So when an agency comes out to survey an organization, they're looking for the overall quality of everything, pretty much. Quality of patient care, overall performance of the staff, the safety of the facility. That includes for both patients and the employees, the performance of management, how compliant the organization is to federal, state, and local laws, what policies and regulations were put in place by the board, and how effective those policies are, and then how efficiently the organization manages its spending. Um, uh, so is accreditation mandatory or is it voluntary? And accreditation is completely voluntary. There are no regulations in place that demand a healthcare organization to be accredited. It's completely their choice. Organizations that are not accredited still have a bar, or you could say a standard set for them by the federal and state government. So even if they choose not to be accredited, they're not completely off the hook. They still have standards they have to meet and follow. So why would an organization choose to go through the process of accreditation? And number one is it's a higher standard and sort of benchmark for the organization. It lets the organization know where they are in terms of patient care and quality of patient care, and it's a higher standard because it's higher than the standard that's set by the federal and state government. So it's better that way. In that way, it's better. So the second thing is it gives the healthcare organization a chance to view some of their weaknesses and improve. So when a accreditation agency sends a surveyor out to the organization, they kind of look at their strengths and their weaknesses, and then at the end they give them a list of ways they could improve and things that they did really well, and so it's really helpful for them. It improves the efficiency and the effectiveness. That's one of the other things an accreditation agency looks at, is just how efficient everything is and how effective all the policies that are in place are. And then it provides healthcare organizations a chance to set a higher standard for patient care. This is showing pretty much the public, the patients, that they're willing to go above and beyond the standards that are set for them by the state and by the federal government. Okay, so how does the accreditation of healthcare organizations compare to the board certification of physicians? So healthcare organization accreditation, I'm just going to say accreditation and certification just to kind of separate those two out so I don't have to say a bunch of stuff. Okay, so both of these are voluntary processes. Each one you have to put in an application. Accreditation shows patients that they have achieved a higher quality of care, organization, and overall efficiency. And physician board certification shows organizations that the physicians have achieved the highest level of training and skills necessary to do their job. So pretty much the goal of both accreditation and certification is to give credibility to individuals and organizations, that they're backing up organizations and the physicians and saying, you know what, yeah, they did a great job and they're on top of it. Okay. So what is the process of accreditation and certification like? So healthcare organizations, their process is a little different from physicians, a lot different actually. So in healthcare organizations, each agency has a different process and standard. So there's a lot of accreditation agencies, and each one does things a little different. This is kind of like a basic outline. They'll fill out an application. They'll pay a fee. The fee ranges anywhere from $1,000 to $50,000, just depending on the size of the organization, how many employees they have, things like that. And then they have a surveyor from a accreditation agency come out to the organization. That's pretty much a simplified version of the process. For physicians, certification, they have to finish 4 years of pre-medical school. They have to earn a medical degree. They have to do a 3 to 5 year residency training program, and they have to have their medical license, and then they have to pass a written exam given by the American Board of Medical Specialties. So it's a very different process, but they're both very lengthy, I'm sure. Okay, so what are some of the accreditation and board certification options? So for accreditation of healthcare organizations, they have a lot of organizations that do accreditation. There's ISO 9000. It's not, we'll talk about this later, but it's not really an organization. It's more of a standard. But the rest of these are all organizations that do it. And the last one is the Joint Commission. It's the most rigorous one, the one that most hospitals and things like that strive for. But we won't talk about that in this presentation. Okay, so for board certification of physicians, there's the ABMS, the American Board of Medical Specialties, and this is an overarching board. So there are multiple specialty member boards, around 24 boards for pretty much each specialty a physician can go into, and they would get certified from their specific board. Okay. So what is the role of the ISO in the accreditation? Like I said before, the ISO is not an accreditation agency, and they do not participate in any part of the accreditation process. So the ISO is an organization that develops standards for a variety of business types. Like this is, it's for automotive sales, it's for any like grocery stores, just about anything you can think of. I mean, so they develop standards for a variety of businesses. Okay. So the ISO 9000 is a standard, and it focuses primarily on quality management and efficiency. Okay, so unlike, let's say, Joint Commission or any other kind of accreditation agency, they would focus more on, let's say, quality of patient care and things like that. This standard focuses more on businesses and kind of the management and how well they're doing their job. Okay. Okay. So a member of an accreditation agency is chosen by the healthcare organization, is the one that actually goes out to survey to see if the ISO 9000 standards are being met. An auditor will survey the organization and create a list of ways the organization can improve. So I think I talked about this a little bit earlier. when the auditor comes out and they do the survey, if the organization doesn't pass their accreditation, they'll give them a list of things they can do, and they create like a kind of like a plan of action, and then they'll come back out in a couple months or whatever, however long it takes, and then give them their accreditation or their certificate or whatever. All right. Okay, so this part, I could not get a hold of management at Madison Memorial. I called and they gave my number to people, but no one ever called me back. So we're just going to talk about maybe why an organization would choose to do ISO 9000 accreditation. Number one, I think is a big deal. You know, it's much cheaper. It ranges from 1,000 to 30,000 based on the size of the organization and the amount of employees. So this is pretty ideal for smaller organizations. They don't have to pay as much as, let's say, another agency. Okay. So it's more of a business-based evaluation, focuses on management and staff improvement versus improvement of patient care. I talked about this a little bit earlier in the last slide, and yeah, so it's more business based and not really clinically based. How are they doing with patient care? How is all the paperwork going? Things like that. And it's less rigorous than the Joint Commission accreditation. And I talked about this too in the last slide. Sorry about that. If the organization does not meet the standards, the auditor will create a step-by-step plan for improvement. I think that's a plus. If they don't meet the standards, they're going to get help and given ways to improve. Okay, and this is just my references. All right, thanks everyone. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, just post it down in the discussion. I'll try to answer. Thank you.